I'm kind of on the fence. It's one of them things. I'm on the fence because one of them things you don't want these stories to disappear into history because we see what this country trying to do, trying to erase the things that happened to us in this country, whether it's in the books or it's in the movies. So I kind of like I don't want that happening, but I also want us as a people to understand there's so much more that could be undiscovered about our history that could be told on a film or in a book. Like for me, I just see so many Emmett Till documentaries and movies. That's like, how many Emmett Till's movie do I need to see to get the point? I got the point the first or two times around. So if anything, I can't tell somebody what they should or shouldn't watch, but I would suggest those who got the power to create these type of movies to try to tell stories that hasn't yet been told. Like I would love for them to talk about the Devil's Bowl in I think it was in Mississippi, about they were using it when black people became free from slavery. They were leading the slaves into this devil's bowl. It was I learned about it on TikTok and I did some research and it was a real thing. And they trapped, I believe, 50,000 slaves all in this one bowl because it's literally shaped like a bowl. And they had women and children on the other side of a wall that was dying from starvation or disease. Stuff like that. I know they sound like trauma porn, but that's also a story not too many of us knew about. So I believe we should tell our story, but I believe there are some good stories that could be told as well. I don't I believe there are I believe in the plight of darkness of our history. I'm pretty sure there are plenty of light-hearted situations that could be brought to light, but that's just me.
What you think, Trish?
I think because of like epigenetics, I personally can't watch too many films like Emmett Till. I prefer to read about things and reading firsthand accounts and nonfiction. But I do support others that need that exposure to stories visually. So I support them seeing it, but I know that some of us, it's a bit too much, particularly if you're the sort of person that takes on what you're seeing. And for that reason, I don't. It would be like I'd say in general, I don't like, for example, World War II movies. I'm like, I've seen enough. But if every single movie that comes out was a World War II movie for the general public, people would be, I'm sick of seeing World War II movies. I think it's the same for like Black films. There's so much like trauma, and then occasionally a Black joy film, and then trauma, that there's so much more to our experience that I would prefer. I want escapism just like everyone else. And escapism is not seeing, a teenage or preteen child being beaten to death, that kind of stuff. I don't need to see it all the time, but I do acknowledge that there are people that do need to see that. I just wish there were more variety.
What do you think, Bobby?
Yeah, I think it's complicated. If you ask me, what would be an interesting Emmett Till story? The interesting story would be the part where the woman who kind of instigates this whole situation continues her life as if nothing happened. I'm more interested in how that person was able to just go on and kind of like watching that person grow into an elderly person as the world changed and we had a Black president, etc. And if that changed that person, if that made that person aware at all of the harm that they caused. I'm more interested in that because we know what happened historically. And then if you think about the historical value of the film, the yield is pretty low because it's an event that's in all of our history books. Whoa, we lost our host. I don't think we've ever lost our host.
Oh, we have, and we kept on going without him. Yeah,
okay,
we
well,
have. So let's keep on going.
But yeah, I think the historical value is not very high. Just because we actually know the outcome, we know the parties already. If you talk about that map that shows up on Facebook every once in a while that has all the different massacres that Black Americans have undergone in different cities, I would be much more interested in a movie in each one of those because it's something that I don't know already, and it's something that would raise the awareness on not just the plight of the community, but sort of the overall scale and scope of terrorism that the Black Americans have survived over the years. I think that has historical value and cultural value, but I don't know that retelling the same tragedies over and over actually has value. I think it has the law of diminishing returns, I think, takes place at a certain point. To Trisha's point, like World War II, for example. World War II is so it's so commercialized now that there's people who think that World War II is the only tragedy that happened in that time frame. But people don't know about rubber and diamonds in Africa and like what the Dutch did and what De Boer's diamonds did in South Africa that had more deaths. And more vicious deaths in terms of the rubber with King Leopold. Like nobody knows what that is. Happened in roughly a similar time period, but we're not going to talk about that because the market is so saturated with World War II. But what does that tell you? Well, some lives are more interesting than others, so we can
no. Lives aren't just interesting, more valuable.
Yeah, but you got to let me get there, Logic. So it's just the idea that we can make some of these lives matter more than others, and we can do that by memorializing them more often than others. And so I do think that media is powerful. So if we're going to memorialize something, let's memorialize all the times individually that's not getting attention, as opposed to replaying the same ones that doesn't even add to our cultural knowledge.
Absolutely agree. And what do you mean by more interesting lives? Let's just call it for what it is: white lives. That's what this makes it more interesting for World War II. And I think that's why a lot of it gets, like you said, commercialized. You're absolutely true. Like, I don't think 9/11 even get that same time. I mean, I think it's got to the point it's getting commercialized, but I still don't see it at the level of World War II or how they continuously to tell the story or have documentaries on it. And it's interesting you talked about Emmett Till's mother, what she had to go through afterwards. Cause I know they had a mini series on Hulu. I'm not sure if that took place after Emmett Till's passing or not. I'm not 100% sure because I never sat down and watched it because I'm kind of, again.
No, you misunderstand. I'm saying the interesting story would be seeing if the white woman changed her feelings at all over the last 50 years.
That's what you mean. Okay, I'm sorry.
I want to know about that. I want to know how that person responded to the world changing around her when she essentially instigated a murder. But that's for another day.
That'd be very interesting. But I want to put no woman in that white woman pockets either.
Well, centering on a white woman's experience. Oh God. But we've had a lot of films in the past about our experience that always happen to have the one good white person, like Hidden Figures, that Kevin Costner's character did not exist in the real Hidden. There was not this benevolent, wonderful white male supervisor who made sure these women, that didn't happen, but had to be created in the film because we have to have a reminder that white people are good too. Look, he's good. We'll make this fictitious character. So those kind of films that I try to avoid.
It's the white savior syndrome, kind of like Django. They have the white man to get Django out of slavery to go rescue his wife. Not say he wasn't a good character, but it's just like, does he need it really?
Well,
for the mainstream.
Well, Mammy Till, that's Emmett Till's mother.
Mm-hmm.
She really started this. She started the whole thing of, you feel me? Getting sympathy and empathy from, showing Black death. She started, I would argue that she started trauma porn. She didn't?
I don't know. I don't. I see what you're getting with that, but I don't know about that because there's been images of Black trauma even before Emmett Till, like where they were not black and white pictures of Black people being hung, get burned. Like I kind of think that's always been. I think that's always been a way to resonate. I don't like to use the word resonate because that's a terrible word to use. But that's the only way I could think of that has been a cultural impact on us is images of us being brutally murdered by our oppressors. So
No,
I
I agree with you on that. But I feel like she was the first one as a black person to do it.
Mhm. And
It
she
was
no,
did it for the North to see it because didn't she choose, was it Life magazine or some a magazine that wasn't just in the South? Because those images were constantly, you could buy postcards of
right.
lynchings and things, but she did it in a magazine that had an international audience. And it was the first time that they couldn't just lie and say, oh, it's just, down south or just our people. We're handling our problems down here. So the rest of the world had an opportunity. So that was, I guess, her conscious decision that I'm doing this. I'm allowing my son to have an open casket so everyone can see what really goes on down there. What did it say?
hmm
So she kind of justifies what we do today in 2023. Like we're bombarded with images of black people losing.
hmm.
Would you do that? Like if your child died at the hands of law enforcement or white supremacy, would you push that button? Would you would you do what Mammy did?
I'm gonna
Would you
say we
show
push
it?
that button for far less.
What?
We push that button for a lot less than that. If
You would give permission for the media and get behind the media showing your child being murdered.
so
That's supremacy.
so here's what I'm saying. If if you get terminated from a job, and let's just say that you're a whistleblower, right? After you get terminated, you can sue them, but that takes a long time. But when you go to the news, there's an immediate resolution. That resolution comes a lot quicker. And people have learned that over time, even just Facebook shares. You can get somebody fired on Facebook quicker than you can get them fired by calling HR. So I
True.
absolutely believe that we would push that button to circulate something so that it's seen by enough people to draw a reaction. Is it more extreme because you're talking about putting something extremely personal out there? Of course, that makes it more volatile. But I also think that the more aggrieved you are, the more extreme your measures will be. So, do I think that you press the trauma button? Yeah, I think if you feel that's the way you're going to get justice, I mean, that's kind of the same question that we have when do we press the looting and rioting button, right? We press the looting and rioting button when people don't feel that doing it a legitimate way is effective. Well, we took it to trial. We lost at trial. We still feel aggrieved. Now we got to do it a different way. So people will go as far as they need to go to feel satiated. That's what I've noticed.
I mean, if you kind of, you have to also. I'm now sitting here thinking about that. What was the last time we used an image or something to of trauma porn? And I just remember George Floyd with the video. That kind of just imagine if that video was not there to be presented, and once again, it was by a young black girl who happened to been into a court. Everything. Just imagine if she did not do that. It probably George Floyd will probably be another faint memory. It probably just faded to the list of names. But the fact that someone had that video for this time at a way bigger platform of media now, that's what get that did a chain reaction from all over the world saying BLM. Granted, some maybe some doing it for their own propaganda, but the point is that was trauma porn, and that trauma porn triggered a lot of events. So I mean, I know that sounds kind of crazy because it's like a sacrificial lamb sort of thinking, but it also depends on what type of justice are you really looking for.
How many people watched that? You watched it?
I didn't.
Trish, you watch it? You watch George die?
I did. And I actually regret having done that. So yeah, I did. I wouldn't have to do that again.
Bobby, you watch it?
I watch all those videos, every single one.
Yeah.
But I watch them because it's important for me as a prosecutor to develop a set of facts for cases that are triable and cases that are not triable. The Floyd incident, right, is now, in my head, an extreme example of can't miss prosecution.
What's that mean?
Well, if if somebody's effecting an arrest and they put their knee on somebody's back for 30 seconds and somehow they crush the larynx or something and that person were to die, that's a different case than somebody having their knee on your back for 8 minutes, for example, and you dying of suffocation or asphyxiation after 8 minutes. Those are two different factual scenarios. And a lot of what's happening in these murder 3 cases, and I call them murder 3 cases because they're mostly charged under reckless murder as opposed to intentional murder because it's hard to prove intent. And not every state has this statute, but every state is going to need it if they want to prosecute police officers moving forward. You have to ask yourself, at what point could this situation have only resulted in a death? That's the question that I have to ask myself if I'm ever going to prosecute one of these. Because the argument that I'm making is that this set of actions could have only killed him. And so therefore, when someone made this choice to do it, they intended to kill him. That's what you're kind of trying to set up. So you have like Philando Castile, where a guy says, hey, I have a firearm. I have a legally owned firearm. Guy reaches for it, gets shot, point blank range. Is that an open and shut win? It is not. So that's what I'm saying. I have to understand what is good and what is bad for prosecution in all these cases, in case at some point in my career I'm giving one of these because I want to be prepared for it.
Now that video I did watch.
That was terrible.
That was horrible. I'm like, geez.
And I cried like a baby. And that was one of the times where I said, I'm good. I can't do this no more. I don't think it's productive for us to watch each other die. I'm starting to wonder what's the purpose of movies like Emmett Till, you know? Black Messiah and the Judas. I'm trying to figure out what's the purpose of always showing us lose. Because I cried like a baby with Philando.
That was the first time I had white friends reach out to me and apologize. And it was so uncomfortable to get those text messages because what they were apologizing for was the fact that he wasn't convicted by a jury of people that they considered to be their peers. And because they know they're not my peers. But they were like, we're sorry that our uncles, our cousins, our aunties didn't think that this was wrong. That's what I was getting text messages about. But I knew, and this is why I was raising the point about watching all of them. I knew earlier that just the facts of the case where somebody has a gun and the officer says, I didn't know whether he was reaching for it aggressively or not. I knew that was just going to be enough doubt for a jury not to convict him. Knowing that, right, is really effed up. That's the tragedy for me in a lot of this, is knowing that I have to actually think about this stuff and say, like, there was the guy in Milwaukee where 3 or 4 officers were trying to hold him back. And none of them had the courage to actually go hands-on with him with any real level of force. So they're just kind of like playing grab ass with him. He gets around his vehicle to open his car door. And I told somebody, my legal opinion was, as soon as he opened that door, he was dead. And I knew he was going to die when he opened that door because I knew they were going to shoot him. And I knew that they were going to have a good shooting because they were going to argue that they didn't know what was in his car. And it didn't matter whether there was a gun there or not, because they were going to be able to say that they were scared of what he might pull out of his car. And that's, like Logic is saying, we have movies of this stuff too, and we know the outcome. And it's definitely over time has a cumulative effect on you. But I just don't know how to be responsible about this stuff, because I want to feel like there's a way, like there's a pattern, there's a way to be successful, that there's a way for us to win at some point. I want to feel that way. I don't always feel that way though.
I had a thank you. I remember you posted something about this Logic, and this may come off a negative way, but it's just something else that I've been thinking about. When you see people repeat movies such as Emmett Till, do you think they're doing it for a profit? Because it's a low hanging fruit. They know it's been a very popular topic, especially in recent times, especially if they're going on with that case, because now it's brought back. It's just like, do you think people continue to make those kind of movies because it's a low hanging fruit? It's easy to do. It's always going to draw attention, because while we may be complain about the trauma porn, let's not act like there's black people in our community that's addicted to it, and they're drawn to those type of movies, whether it's something historically or not. They are drawn to it, so it's an easy money grabber. Like, this may not be like, oh, y'all gonna get mad. People get mad at me for this one. Like them Tyler Perry movies, I find them to be black trauma movies. I'm sorry, I said it. I find them so much trauma porn in it, and I feel they make a movie. Oprah too. I believe they make money off of the trauma of black women. That's why, honestly, I don't support those type of movies. It's not to say no movies are bad. I'm not saying I want to put them out of work. I just personally believe there's other faces of black women that should be represented. Not not every single black. I mean, we all have our stance in life. We're gonna go through something. That's kind of what life is. But where where can we have a movie about a black woman that's not necessarily being traumatized in some shape or form? If it's not about her family, if not about for her partner or whatsoever, maybe that's asking too damn much. But yeah, I think that's low hanging fruit. Trisha, you got something to say about that?
No, I was just laughing when you said black women not being traumatized. That's what Love Jones was for. We got one movie.
Yeah, we got one movie that's not the case. Yeah, that's one movie. Yeah, we never. Yeah,
I love Love Jones.
I love Love Jones. That's still it's my number one favorite black film.
I love it.
It's Love Jones. But other than that, what's another love? That's another
It
movie.
made money too, and yet we don't get any more.
Yeah, we don't get it anymore. That was a good movie. I love that movie.
That's like 20 years old. It's like 20 years ago or something. And
Point of Justice.
What?
Well,
what movie?
Yeah, that is true.
Poetic
Justice.
I don't think I've seen that one. Maybe I did.
You haven't?
Tupac.
Oh, Poetic Justice. Oh, yes. Yeah, that's Janice, I don't know. Her boyfriend got killed in the beginning in front of her. So
yeah,
she was traumatized.
She
was traumatized in the beginning.
She had an attitude, of course, because of it. She had a hard yeah, so she was still angry black woman for a little bit.
She was angry for a little bit, but she finally got, the only good thing about she finally got out that darkness that she was in.
Jason Lyric.
Ooh.
Well, she got shot.
Yeah.
No, Jason's Lyric.
Yeah, Jada got shot by old evil Dave Chappelle looking dude at the end.
All right.
But it's another beautiful movie. I love that movie too. That was a beautiful movie of black love, but she still got shot.
All right.
Oh gosh. Just like
she survived. Luckily, thank goodness she survived. But the point is, she still got capped.
Love and basketball. Love and basketball.
I haven't even watched. I feel.
Oh, I definitely hate that movie.
Which one?
Love and Basketball. I hate that movie.
Oh yeah.
I hate that movie as a 13-year-old. I still hate that movie. Hell no.
Like
I wouldn't. Don't you ever play that movie in my house?
Wait, time out.
I don't like
I hate that movie. That movie was terrible.
I was angry. She should have left all the
things
that had to happen. Come on.
That's one of the worst movies.
Quincy McCall Jr. was a dog just like his daddy.
I give women a shout out when they say love basketball, my family. I'm like, why? Why?
Precious, Quincy McCall Jr. was a dog just like his daddy.
Who? Omar. Is that
Omar S?
Yeah,
Omar
Yeah.
Epps.
I guess it. Yeah, Omar. I forgot how that movie. I only seen it one time. I said Terrell don't ever. That was my boyfriend. I said you ever play this? I said don't you ever play this movie again? I don't you ever play this movie again? Me
He's
and him watch it
broken, don't
together.
have anything, and then he wants her. I'm like, come on.
Yeah, all that playing around. He
Oh,
get his little leg broke. Now he want to be good. Oh, now because
you
you
have
crippled,
no
you want to be
option.
right.
So
Like
now
now you're a
you
cripple. You've been dogging me out the whole movie. Now you want to be my man. I'll be damn. But pick out another movie. What's another good
What
movie?
about
That's
Brown
what.
Sugar?
Wait. Thank you, Bobby.
Because
Okay,
What
I
would
Brown.
remember
Bobby
that.
say?
Brown Sugar.
Brown Sugar was one.
Okay.
Because the soundtrack was heat. That's the reason why I
That is
ended up
true.
watching the movie.
Mm,
Yeah,
okay.
Brown Sugar was decent. Brown Sugar was decent. What's another good
It
one?
was more than just decent. It was a dope ass movie.
I don't watch that movie that much. I mean, I've seen it a lot of times. I've seen it a few times, but I don't know. It's a good movie though.
I'm still
There's a
trying to figure out what was wrong with Love and Basketball.
Oh, because
I mean,
he
he was dogging
literally
me.
had no options, and then she was the best option. It was like she wasn't the first.
Yeah, he was playing her ass.
Everything, and you gonna have a career now. You want me? Okay, great. So yeah,
And
that
I
was
believe he
the
got
problem.
hurt while he was on
Yeah,
time. I think he got hurt, and then he went to act right. I said, "Oh, now you're a cripple. Now you want to be the right one. If you don't get
yeah.
your ass."
Bye.
That movie pissed me off. I was 12, 13 when I saw them. I said, Terrell, don't you ever play this movie again. Don't you? I guess I would have G'd in.
I liked it when I was
Let,
younger
let
and
Where's
me
saw
Terrell
it, but
now?
when I was
Where's Terrell
older
now?
and saw it, I'm like, this is horrible. Why did I like this movie?
Let's see, what's another good movie that did had trauma porn in it? Um,
Mm.
what was that other movie? Is it the photographer or something like that?
Yeah, Issa Rae.
Yeah. I don't
The
think that one. I don't recall
photograph.
that one being one. Mm.
Mm,
Let me ask you
yeah,
something real quick.
crickets.
Don't better
Let me-
not bring up soul food because that's nothing but trauma all over. I
yeah,
go all day on soul food.
that's terrible. Let me ask you something. Do you think the movies that we um are conditioned to like and indoctrinated in, you think it stereotypes black men?
I think it stereotypes both of us. Yes. I think it stereotypes both of us. But whenever I see movies, and I like to read the comment, like whenever they talk about them, I always look at the comment just to see how we know what people got to say. And a lot of people say, well, that's how my relationship is. Like that's how some people resonate with their relationship. For many of them, those type of movies is like what you call a life imitating art or art imitating.
Art
I don't know. Yeah. That's
imitation.
how it resonates for a lot of them. So again, so like I said, there's people who are drawn to the trauma porn. They like the trauma porn because the trauma porn, that type of trauma porn exists in their own living life, or maybe they're drawn to it. I don't know.
Mm.
Yeah, growing up watching black movies, I will say this. It conditioned me to say that I'm just waiting for black men to mess up.
I should
It's,
laugh, but damn.
yeah, it's inevitable. Like we're always gonna mess up. We're gonna cheat. We're gonna beat. We're gonna be addicted to drugs, and I don't think that's true. I don't think that's not my story. That's not
So
the story of my life. But watching those movies, I was conditioned to say it's just a matter of time for black men to mess up.
the only movie where I say a black man, although I want to say a little colorism played in this. Yeah, I think a little colorism played in it, and that was the Diary of a Mad Black Woman. Oh, Kimberly Lee was getting messed over by old Charles, who was dark complexion, but he had money. He was a popular lawyer, whatnot. Although he was doing some drugs on the DL, but I guess a little bit on the story. And then here come Shamar Moore, little pretty boy, but he didn't have the money. But he was a nice guy, and he treated Kimberly Lee's character. I bet her name was Helen in the movie. Very, very good. She ultimately ended up leaving. Well, they were getting divorced anyway. She decided to be with Shamar Moore character.
Mm.
Trish, you think
So
we get a bad name? You think black men get a bad name?
From movies.
Yeah.
Well, luckily, what Black Panther corrected many ills, but I know not every movie is Black Panther. But Uh, in general, we do, but in general, we aren't the ones writing the stories. We have to look or maybe examine more the stories that are written and produced by Black people. What is it that we choose to put out, or also what is a studio willing to fund? Conversely, like I would when I was younger, and I know, when Black exploitation films were what the pinnacle, and I was probably watching movies I shouldn't have seen, but did anyway. I used to think that a Black woman, it was just a matter of time before she's R word, and then once she's R word, then she'll be powerful. And that was based on. I remember even telling my mother at one point, I was watching some Pam Grier films. I'm like, why does she always have to get R word? And my mom was like, well, that's, it's just for the story. I'm like, yeah, I'm sick of, if she's strong enough to do that, why? And then she's powerful, and then she's able to take vengeance on all these people. And a lot of other movies. That's why I like, even in terms of, was it 7 Years a Slave? I've read the book. I have never, and I feel bad about that. I've never seen the movie because I don't like seeing women, Black women, being R-worded. And I don't know if it's epigenetics or something, but I just can't. Even if I somehow find myself in that situation, I will close my eyes. Go. I will I need to have an out of body experience that I'm not here. But yeah, I think with Black men and women, we probably, because of the things that get funded by the studios, we don't have the best reputations. It plays into a lot of stereotypes. Oh gosh, Color Purple.
God damn. My mom, so many women hated Danny Glover for so many years. My mom said it took to Lethal Weapon for her to like him again. And let me just say, and can I also say about I remember reading up on The Color Purple, said how that was such a controversial movie for the time because a lot of Black men did not like it because they felt they would display them as a negative light. But people have to understand the time frame of that movies was set in. I mean, a lot of that stuff did go on.
But I think a lot of people I remember were upset because of the fact that Steven Spielberg was
Yeah, he was a
producing it.
director.
They thought he can't really tell the story properly. And then they were complaining about the fact this is what happens when you let someone who's not part of that experience share your story, that it becomes that you need someone as an archetype. You need someone who's the pure embodiment of evil that isn't two-dimensional or three-dimensional. So I think that was a lot of the resistance or anger that I was hearing from people, as well as from Black men. They were like, yeah, there's not enough Black men in the whole lot. But I know that people were really upset because Steven Spielberg was producing it.
But the funny thing about it is, we're no better when it comes to directing movie. We do the same type of trauma for the most part. I'm not saying that everybody does that, but I'm saying for the most part, we continue to do it ourselves.
Oh, yeah. Like the Queen and Slim. Was it Queen and Slim?
Oh yeah, Queen and Slim. That was
Yeah.
a really good movie, but yeah, they got lit up in the end. They got lit up in the end. They
Yeah.
got portrayed by their own people. Yeah, Queen and Slim.
Yeah.
But here's my deal with the Steven Spielberg pushback, right? So he directed the movie.
Mm-hmm.
He probably funded it, but he didn't write it.
Mm-hmm.
Alice Walker wrote it, and so that was her depiction of Black men. You know,
Yes.
just like it was Terry McMillan's depiction of Black men in Waiting to Exhale. I think all of that is a form of maybe not necessarily trauma porn, but it's definitely putting Black men in a box that we oppress our women, and I think we do. But we don't have enough stories to show when we don't. Like y'all said, Love Jones is probably the only one where y'all didn't. Well, you didn't like Love and Basketball, but Brown Sugar, I felt like he was a good.
That's
I don't have no objection to that. But I saw in the comments someone brought up that movie for Color Girl. You'll never catch me seeing that movie again. That movie pissed me off to the highest level too. I said, you know what? I'm done. That's why I grabbed him. I said, you know what? I'm done. I'm just done with that movie too. Yes, that movie pissed me off in so many ways.
I I don't know. I think for me, watching films that are not
You know,
advertised,
we can't, Bobby. We can't see.
I don't know what's going on my camera. I don't have an answer for
come
that.
back.
I don't have an answer for that, but I do think that right now there's something that's happening in films that are not tailored for Black people specifically. And this has been happening for a while now, where there's like a magical Negro, is what I call it. Like there's this Black man who he's like all knowing, like a Morpheus type of character, and Lawrence Fishburne has played this
Green
character.
Mile. Green
Yeah,
Mile.
Green Mile. Oh, boy.
Yeah, like there can be a good leading Black man, but he's always magical. Like he's clearly a fictional character. He's clearly somebody that couldn't actually exist. Like even the Black Panther, I love the Black Panther, but it's so clearly fictional. Like there's nothing to draw on it from reality. And so, in my opinion, a lot of times the message is that, yeah, this could exist, but not in reality.
Right.
This dignified Black man who's educated and can take care of himself and is financially well off and dates a Black woman who might be dark skinned, but it's a comic. Like, I almost think that's more disrespectful sometimes than these everyday Black people that we see in television, or supposedly everyday Black people in television who are involved in petty crime and domestic violence. Like those people are accessible as characters because of stereotypes, but also because we just know they exist. So I think the problem, and I think Denzel Washington talks about this a little bit when he talks about culture, is if you don't have writers who are writing from a anecdotal standpoint about people they know, I just think there's always going to be a shortage. I mean, like Trisha talks about her father a lot. So if Trisha was going to write a Black male character, I would assume he was going to be motivated on some level by her father.
Right.
Or Precious talks about her brothers. Now, I don't know her brothers. Precious is not saying they're perfect, but she's drawing on people that exist. And like, I don't think I've ever heard her say a negative thing about her father, who's apparently a hard worker. So, if the writer is a person who's coming from the standpoint of having those experiences, I think we'll get more depth. But what's happening a lot of times is where white men or white writers create Black male characters that are good, they just seem like they're completely fictional. And that's insulting to me. To me, it's insulting, but it's what we've gotten used to.
I agree.
Yeah.
You think we should share getting back to the topic, you think we should share Black Death? Should we do what Mammy Till did? Like, as we move forward, should we show us being killed, us losing? Like, what's the balance?
What's the intention behind it? Are you just sharing it just for the hell of sharing? Are you sharing to get a message across? Or you're trying to, if are you trying to get this to the media for them to talk about it, to get something moving? It all depends on intent at the end of the day. Are you just doing sharing it for entertainment to talk about how this person was brutally murdered? Like, it all depends on intentions at this point. It all depends on the intention. To just purely for entertainment, or it's for a political move or a social move. Like those type of things, you have to ask. If before I shared it, what exactly I'm doing this for?
Yeah.
Art or joy.
Hold on.
I battle with this a lot. Because I talk to some Black people and they be like, why are you watching the fights on your timeline? People fighting in the street. And I remind people all the time, the same reason why I pay $50 to $80 for a pay-per-view fight. I'm not gonna lie to you. I like seeing Black and brown people fighting. It's American tradition. It's culture.
And let's also keep in mind, fighting and killing is two different things.
Yeah, but the fighting is it leads to killing though. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
yeah.
You know, like I can't say that. I think the difference is because there's a referee and it's sanctioned and it's organized. But I like to see people fight. I do. And
Yeah,
some people
I think
and some of those knockouts and those fights, because I know Bobby watches it too. They're grisly. They're bad.
Why are you throwing me in this?
You don't watch it, bro?
I've never been that guy.
Oh, okay.
Here's what I will say. I don't. The reason why I'm more comfortable with like UFC or boxing, because I will watch that. I don't think that anything's going to happen afterwards. It's over. It's contained. There's no Hatfields and McCoys happening after this. You know, like the worst you could get is a trilogy. And both of them people getting rich off of that too. That's what they chose. But no one is, at least in my brief experience on Earth, I'm yet to hear about at the end of a trilogy, guy on his way home gets his car shot up by a member of the other boxer's crew. Now maybe it hasn't been advertised. I'm yet to hear about that, but that's where I would draw a strong distinction because that's the problem that I have with the videos is the violence comes without context, so it's randomized. So if you're a person who's not from the culture and this video pops up, you go, here go these Negroes go again fighting. You don't know anything about why they're fighting. And then someone gets hurt, and then you know the next thing you hear is there were 74 shootings in Chicago last weekend. And they're like, oh, you know, here's why. And of course, that's not how it works. It doesn't add up that way, but it just becomes an excuse to stereotype everybody else. So that's the problem that I have with it. I mean, people fight in every culture. People fight on every corner of this earth. So it's not unique to Black people. But what is unique to Black people is that the way people process that information and use it against other four people on this video. That is unique to us. You can watch 100 videos of white people fight, walk outside, and you're still not going to say, damn, that white man right there is violent.
True.
I think at the end of the day, this trauma porn promotes the narrative that Black men are more violent than any other species on this planet. And they earn or deserve the treatment that they get, which is violence, and they lose. They lose. All that violence that you do, you lose. However, on the flip end, when you don't use violence and you're nurturing and you're loving, you don't win. That's what trauma porn teaches me. Like, you feel me? Like, how many movies exist where we win? When we're being loving and nurturing, it's always, oh, he's gay. You know? He's feminine. He's emasculated. We don't win. Either way it goes. That's how trauma porn works. Like if you're ultra aggressive and violent, you don't win. If you're nurturing, you're gay. You're feminine. You still don't win. So that's the flip side of trauma porn that I feel like a lot of people don't get. Like the flip side of trauma porn is you don't win, even if you're nurturing and you're loving. What y'all think?
I think a level of social conditioning plays a role in it too. I think sometimes I think we kind of forget that. I think because how else the hell? I think it's probably what you probably was saying. And I'm sorry, my dogs keep barking in the background. My dad came home, but it also kind of go to show like how like we know about the we call white women who problematic Karens and how they go around causing havoc everywhere. But yet again, once we step out, yet for some reason, they're still considered a standard of beauty in some shape or form, despite the fact a lot of them are Karens. So I don't know. I think it's a level of social conditioning that when it comes to us and we get mixed up in violence, we automatically get that stamp. Even if we been soft or like you said, we been soft or nothing, we still get that stamp. I don't know how much of that's really social conditioning. I could be wrong though.
Yeah,
Hold on.
I don't see us winning. Like, and and man, I'm going to support the movie too. Like, how many of y'all are going to go out and see that? You're not going to see.
I keep it 100 with you. Say nope.
No.
But you're being consistent though, and I think that's worth mentioning because I said I was not going to watch Judas and the Black Messiah for the same reason. I know the story already. Y'all not selling me on a different version of the facts. I don't care.
Right.
So if you saw that too, Logic, and I think that's worth mentioning. So the question is, why do you continue to watch these?
I mean, I'll buy a ticket. I just won't go to see it. And I've done that before, like with Judas and the Blacks. I bought a ticket, but I just didn't go to see it because I still want to support films like that because I think there are people that need to see it, but I can't do more physical harm to me, bring traumatizing myself just to support someone else because then I'm impacting my health and I need to be mentally healthy for it takes too long literally for me to recover from seeing things like that, particularly if I know that those things are true. Yeah, then it takes too long to recover.
I think, and let's close out. Let's do the plan of action. Um, I think what it is for me is my plan of action is I'll watch it, but there has to be some discussion behind it afterwards because I still bear witness to black business, and and I know there's gatekeepers, and I know that they're gonna say we're only gonna allow black people to express themselves some kind of way and produce certain kinds of movies. So I'm going to support them because I want their numbers to be good. But for me, there has to be a conversation. If I watch Judas and the Black Messiah, I want to know why my brother's crying. That was facts. Like it happened. And he was just like crying, like bawling. Like my brother was crying. Like he was just you know. I will go see Till. I will. I'm not gonna like it, because we're losing, but I think my plan of action is if you're watching this stuff, what kind of conversations are you having and what kind of safe places are you creating after you watch these movies? And I don't think a lot of black people are creating safe places after they watch these movies. That's my plan of action. If you watch this stuff and you're going to it and you solicit it, create a safe place for y'all to heal. What you think, Precious?
I mean, I think that's a good advice, especially when you watch a movie that's traumatic like that. Like even if you watch, let's say, a horror film, you kind of want to watch something a little more lighthearted, especially if you ain't the type of person who can digest horror films. Some people will watch something a little more lighthearted to, I guess, how you put it, to bring you back to reality a little bit, like get you out of that little space. My overall plan of action is you have to watch what you can stomach. I don't think you should be forced to watch something you know it's not going to put you in a good, healthy space. But if you're not going to do that and you're not familiar with it, I would definitely say perhaps you should read a book on it, or maybe
Mhm.
do a little research and at your own personal time, because seeing stuff in film and actually reading something could does change the perception on things. So, yes, I would definitely say you should support black films, but I think we should also. I think I'm not sure how much of work we'll do. I think us as the consumers and the viewers should also say, let's talk about some other topics about our history that hadn't been discovered. As I said earlier, there's so much about our history that we just do not know, and I think that's the real profit, is finding things that we do not know about. So I can't tell nobody what they can and can't watch. As for me, I would not be watching those movies. I'm not going to watch those movies. I'm not going to say, oh, no, I'm not going. I think I've
That's
seen enough. I think I read enough. I'm a pass.
that's understood. Trish, what you think?
Yeah, my plan of action is, personally, I can't watch those types of movies. I'm Unless sometimes I'll read spoilers ahead of time, but if they're, nonfiction, you know what the end result is. I would rather, if you do decide to see films like that that are nonfiction, develop some sort of like discussion afterwards, like you used to do what in high school or in college, that you watch a film and then discuss it, and then have resources available in case you're a person like me who's easily triggered by some things, and that helps you feel more in control. But also think about the reason why so many of these films are out. Like I had said, that there's a reason why we need to constantly feel like we're in a state of trauma, because then it's difficult to function and think clearly, to take other plans or create courses of action. So your what you can tolerate. um, it's probably more important for people who are not Black to see those types of movies. But then again, they see what's on regular television and people getting arrested and shot, and that doesn't really seem to have much impact. So, just in terms of, for us, protect yourself and protect your blood pressure, your stress level, and your triggers. Just know what your triggers are, and go to spoiler sites. It helps.
What you think, Bobby? Plan of action.
I guess I've just been kind of going back and forth now on whether I'm going to watch it after I was listening to you talk. I just I think we have to support members of our community who have an opportunity to produce films. I think that Trisha's idea of buying a ticket, even if you don't plan on visualizing it, is strong. I think you could take that to another level and say, donate your ticket to somebody who you think needs the history. Um, and if they don't go watch it, then they don't go watch it. But you gave somebody an opportunity to learn about something that you know about. You supported the film. You didn't trigger yourself. So I think that donating tickets is probably the move for situations like this as a community where we don't need to see it, but we think somebody else does. Um, tickets are not cheap, but awareness is not cheap either. So I think that might be the go-to for me on this one, because I do recognize, and I've talked about it a number of times on here, the market is just not saturated and not developed in such a way that awards Black filmmakers with contracts or characters. So if we have a lane, then we do have to take advantage of it, because if the movie is commercially successful, and there's somebody in there who wouldn't have got a shot working for Sony, now they have a chance to work for Sony. So, you could very well get your own, the next Denzel Washington from a film like this, which is terrible, but that's how it works. When I was growing up, my favorite movies were Finding Forrester and Antoine Fisher, which were both, well, Antoine Fisher was strong because Denzel Washington is the primary, good guy, I guess, and he's bringing Antoine Fisher along into manhood. But Antoine Fisher is a sexually abused young man who's sexually abused by his black family members, which at the time, of course, went over my head because I was like 9. But I know that now, and Finding Forrester even is a story about Sean Connery teaching a black man English, essentially. So I didn't realize that at that time either. But those two actors had careers from those movies that, Derek Luke ended up playing Sean Combs in a movie later. And Derek Luke ended up being like my favorite actor for a solid decade. And he got opportunities because of Antoine Fisher. So you can't just write these movies off and say, I don't like them, so I'm not going to support them, because these actors really don't ever have a chance. And I think in Antoine Fisher,
I'm still standing.
There was a young black female that was in that movie too who got casted. It was his girlfriend. So, those are two black male, black female actors that had careers that stemmed off that movie. So we got to give the support, but we also got to find ways to protect ourselves.
I'm still standing.
I bet you are.
Right.
But yes, good dialogue, Bobby. I agree.
Yeah, that was well said. All right, City Talk, stuff to make your C's walk. Check us out. Next Sunday, what is it? The 28th of August. We got a day party, grill party, day party at Camp Long. Check us out. We'll be there. Food, drinks, live DJ, live music, dominoes, spades, chess, all that. Check us out. We out.